Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is sponsored by Townsend Automotive Group in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This year, many of us are relearning to cherish things closer to home, and that goes for any trips away from it as well. Enter the road trip, perfect for a weekend getaway, a camp out as the weather cools, or if you're like me, dinner reservations. The Townsend Auto Group began 48 years ago with the late Charles Townsend, who started selling cars in his hometown of Memphis in the early 50s. Later, he and his family moved to Alabama, and in 1972, he purchased the local Ford dealership, and soon other dealerships followed. Today, this company is still built on service and connection with its customers, and they want to remind you of the joys of a jaunt down the road. The staff can get you into a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV you'll love to drive. Of course, catching up on those Southern Fork podcasts as you go, and their service staff will keep you going. Townsend Automotive Group salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be a part of a community that does the same. Visit TownsendHonda.com, TownsendNissan.com, or TownsendAutomotiveDemopolis.com to learn more. Or, if you're in West Alabama, stop in at any of their 3 locations. Now, how about some freshly picked crab meat for fresh crab cakes? The blue crab is greatly cherished in the South Carolina Lowcountry. Many locals prefer its sweet meat over all other locally caught seafood, and it's an animal that can be found from New England to Texas. But much of those ecosystems are under immense development pressure. You see, blue crabs require both inshore brackish waters and high salinity ocean waters to complete their life cycle. But here in Charleston, South Carolina, they now have an ambassador, Tia Clark. She's a Charleston native and a food and beverage veteran who started casual crabbing with Tia in 2017. That budding business has now become recognized as one of the top Airbnb experiences in the world, and she's teaching tradition and respect for the sea with every cast of her net. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Tia.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited this worked out. We have spent some time on a dock for the last 25 minutes.
Yes.
It is like one of the most beautiful days in the history of the world, but a little too windy to record outside. And it was one of the most beautiful days in the history of the world. So Riverfront Park was a little busy.
Very busy. Very busy.
A Thursday afternoon.
It's the new walkway, I think. It's that new boardwalk. It's bringing everybody out.
I know. No, it looks so good.
I know. I think they should create a new theme for it. It's going to be called Catch Anything.
So I walk with Tia, Southern Fork listeners, from the small parking lot maybe, I don't know, 500 feet?
Maybe.
And the theme of the day, and Tia says this is her every day, is, did you catch anything? How many times do we get asked that?
At least a dozen, I think, just now, just walking to and from the van. They want to know. And that's what everybody wants to know. You catch anything? Mm-hmm. If they see you with a fishing pole, crab basket, they want to know. What did you catch?
And I think there's something kind of magical about that in a world where people actively avoid talking to each other.
Because there is bonding. There is something special about what we're doing here in the Lowcountry next to the salt water. It doesn't matter who you are. You walk by somebody with a fishing pole, they're going to ask you that.
Right. It's just that connection. So when we were talking on the phone a few days ago, and you said, I didn't really even know how to cast a net until a few years ago, and you're a Charleston native, I thought we're going to have a good conversation here. And not just a Charleston native, but somebody who has a fishing business. I'm just like, I got to learn this story. So, I mean, just walk me in. How did you get here? When did you know that you had a connection to the water? Let's start there. That's a little more primal because water is a relationship for you.
Yeah. I knew that when my cousin took me crabbing for the first time. I mean, that's when I discovered, it's crazy. Like, I'm born and raised here. Mm-hmm. I drove over the first place my cousin took me crabbing to. I probably crossed that bridge and was near that water so many different times in my life, but it never even existed until that day that I went crabbing. Uh-huh. So that absolutely is 100% the time that happened for me. Because that's what started this journey. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with throwing the cast net, just being near the water. Mm-hmm. I have a friend actually that's visiting right now, and she has a connection with the water where she needs to touch it. She has to be inside. Like, she needs to jump in it.
That's me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's you. That's my friend. That's my friend. Me, I don't not so much need to do that, but I need to be near it, know? Like, I know now for certain that I need to be near it. I never felt that way in my life. Like, I could never live anywhere that's not near the water now.
Right. One of the best things about living in the Lowcountry for me is driving over water any time I'm doing errands.
It's magical.
So it can be a really rough day, and then all of a sudden you hit a bridge.
I know. And everything goes away.
And like right now we're sitting right before the time change is going to happen. And so it's starting to be the golden hour, and we just drove over Noisette Creek, and that light,
as soon as it hits it,
on the creek with the marsh, there's just something really, really special. But it goes beyond that, because you were telling me that what your business is really creating something out of nothing. So that's twofold, because you created something out of nothing. I think you're the first professional
crabber.
Crabber.
Professional recreational crabber. That's what I thought. How do you do that? You're a professional recreational crabber.
But now you have one of the highest rated Airbnb experiences, right?
Yeah.
What was your job before, when that first time the cousin took you crabbing? What were you doing then?
Oh, I was in the food and beverage industry. I was, actually, at the time that he took me crabbing, I had just went and had plans drawn up for what I thought was going to be my first bar that I owned. Like, almost 2 decades in food and beverage, I was like about to go all in because I'm tired of working for other people. And it's like, well,
mid-career, it's time to do something.
Here it is, time to do your own thing, right? Like, that's what I was doing. And then crabbing was like, I don't think so. Like, here, you have no idea. It's like, I put all this time and energy into one thing, to which I think where I thought my life was headed. It was food and beverage, and I take so much of that into what I do now. Like, a lot of people ask how I built this thing, and all of that is from the food and beverage knowledge I've had,
Hospitality, understanding customer experience, understanding your product. Yeah. And your product is you and the experience, but also understanding that what you're doing is, what you're teaching really is intimidating. I didn't really tell you this beforehand, but we're inside your car now, and I'm going to treat it as a confessional. Okay? I love the water and I love fishing, and we have talked about how I thought that turkey necks were going to be the bait of all the things. I thought that turkey neck was the universal bait. I find it hilariously fun to fish with the line, to crab with the line.
Oh, yeah.
And to watch them get angry as you pull it up. They're like, wait.
Oh, yeah.
But how many times have I wanted to say this out loud? I am intimidated to cook it.
Really?
And I cook whole fish, and I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, crab legs, crab meat, crab cakes. Everything was already food. It wasn't,
you have to
it wasn't an animal. So really,
man.
I have been so close the past couple of years because I thought, I love this stuff. I know I've been to Crab Cracks. I love it.
I got you. We're going to cook some crabs together. We're going to take away that fear. There ain't no reason.
So I want my Southern Fork listeners to know that about me. Yes, I get it. I get it. I'm not against it. I'm a little nervous about like pulling off the apron and making sure that like it's clean and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of intimidation that you have to get over pretty quickly in the Crabbing with Tia experience.
And I throw you right into it. I mean, just like push you right into the pool. Like, that's it. Like,
so how do you deal with somebody like me on that experience?
Easy. That's so easy. Because there is a connection when you are catching what you are preparing. It's not like you just went to the store and you bought this thing and now you got to go home and gut it. You just went through this experience of actually catching this with your own two hands. So now you get to actually respect it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different bond. Like, people, they act differently when they catch it, whether it's fishing or crabbing. When you catch it, now there's connection. So when you're eating, it's like you're really praising this animal, you're thanking it. There's a lot involved in that. But for you, the first thing I do is I'd make you pick up almost every one that you could get close to.
Pick up the crab.
Absolutely. You'd pick every single one up.
Have you heard I don't? Did you get the memo that I didn't pick up chickens?
Do you know how many people come on the dog with me and the first thing they say is, I'm so excited to be here, but I am not touching anything. Like, that is what they say. Instantly, they are snatching crabs out of my hands. I don't care if you're 7. I've had a 7-year-old tell me that. I've had a 70-year-old tell me that. It doesn't matter. Everybody's going to hold the crabs. Once you learn the secrets that I'll teach you when you come crabbing with me, about how they work, what they can do, how interesting they are. Like, when really, like, people get so excited instantly within like the first 30 minutes, they want to catch as much as they can because they want to learn as much as they can about them. And
you said you work out of a marina, and so it's a private area, and
it is now.
Yes, for the moment.
For the moment.
Yes, and you said it's really just like an amusement park of different things happening in this experience. You've got lines, you have commercial pots, right?
We have one commercial pot. We have multiple drop baskets and tons of the old school traditional hand lining way is the way that you're talking. It's like you imagine playing tug of war with this crab,
Yeah,
like,
it's super fun when you can feel it and then they come into view.
How fun is it when they come into view and then they take one look at you and then they just let go and float back in the other direction?
Exactly. They're like, oh, right.
Yeah, I'm out of here. No thanks. Not today.
And that's when you have to have that long-handled net to kind of scoop them up.
And a good partner right there to help you.
Right.
I tell you, I make that. So we created this thing. So my co-host, me and Art Perry, when we do the old school hand lining, we created this series of photos called Charleston Gothics. And it's kind of like the American Gothic. You remember the black and white with a lot of people think that that's a husband and wife, but that's a father and daughter, the black and white with the pitchfork.
Right.
And so we've now created that into a Charleston Gothic because when we're hand lining, it's a 2-person job. Somebody's going to pull the string. Somebody's going to scoop with the net. And so that team, once they do that, the person that pulled the string will hold the crab and the person that scooped with the net will do the dip net. And so they take the first one and they're all smiling and happy. And then I make them do one that's so serious. And this album is so amazing. I'm so excited. I'm going to do like a coffee table book,
yes.
It's so cool to see them really just like with these very exciting smiles because it's the first time. I always make sure to do it when they catch their first crab doing that way because it's so rewarding. So then you get this natural, just pure joy out of these people's face. Like they love to look at those pictures. They go, look at me. Like they're like shocked at themselves. And then I get that serious one. And some just really own it. Like some just, I mean, own it. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, it's so fun. It's fun for me to go back through and look at. So I like to share that with people.
How many people have you taught to crab? Do you know? Do you keep numbers?
I don't keep as many as I should. Now, Airbnb did give me some statistics that I think it's been well over 1,000 people. And that I've taught them all how to throw the cast net too. And all of those people 16 and up purchase saltwater fishing license when they come here. So they are actually giving back to the blue crabs. They don't just come and take out of our waters. They actually contribute.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
So crabs are really interesting. They can do certain things. They can't do certain things. We're not going to go through the Crabbing with Tia experience, but can you tell me one fact about blue crabs that live in these waters that you learned that you found fascinating?
Absolutely, man. Just one. This is the rabbit hole. This is where I get to, this is where I feel like I get my pocket protector and my pen and I come out and I can just
I live with the pocket protector.
I could go down the rabbit hole. Oh man, one of my favorite ones. Oh, this one's funny. Art's probably going to make fun of me for this one. So I have this idea of what I think that happens. So female crabs, male crabs mate with multiple partners. Females go through this last molt and they attract a male crab that'll kind of hold them and protect them because they'll be vulnerable and soft shelled during that last molt. And then they mate. And then they get kind of human-like and they go in the opposite directions, never to be seen again, right? But what's interesting is that females need high salinity. So those girls will really kind of head towards the beach. That's what I tell people from where our location is. It's like you imagine them heading towards Folly Beach or something. And the male crabs will mate with different partners and females only mate once, but they can reproduce more than once. So it's magical because they mate once, take all they need, and store what they are not using. The girls will go to the beach, have their babies, then they come back, and I always tell Art, and he makes fun of me, and I'm like, this is what I imagine. I'm like, she's a strong, independent female crab. She don't need no male crab for nothing. So she comes back this way, and then she heads back to the beach when she wants to have her other babies.
Oh, yeah. So she has her moment.
Yeah. Reproduce more than once, but only mate once through their entire lifespan.
That space in between crabbing on that creek that you had driven over 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, and 1,000 people Airbnb. There's a point when you learn something, and then there's a point when you realize I can teach something.
Yeah.
Have you always been a teacher, Tia?
Never. And it's hard for me to see myself that way. Almost everybody I took crabbing in the beginning because when I fell in love with it.
You just wanted people to do it too.
And I mean my friends and everybody I loved where it was the hottest day and I'm like, come crabbing. And they're like, girl, I ain't going crabbing with you today. No, you ain't going crabbing today. But those people, when I would share that experience, I would see them be shocked after what would happen when we would go on the dock. And they'd be like, I think people will pay you to do this. Or they would say, you really taught my daughter a lot in this little bit of time. I bet other people will really want this. And hearing things like that.
Over and over.
Over and over and over. And then getting on Airbnb and being like, all right, we'll see what happens here. Still, because I'm managing the bar still when I'm on there. And when I get that nod from them, I'm running my bar. This is the way my life is headed. So I still wasn't even all into it. But when I started taking people crabbing and on their platform and the reviews, it's so crazy. And, you could think about them they really are just, reviews. But to me, being green and getting in this world, this was these people really pouring their heart out after what this experience was because I was there on the dock with them. I know that this isn't somebody just sitting in the chair, just leaving this review because they felt like they had to. This is they're leaving this because they felt like they had to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so with that is where I started, my confidence kind of started building, you know, and it didn't matter because you always think the people around you love you and support you and they're going to tell you supportive things to really try to push you on. But when I have hundreds and hundreds of strangers coming on the dock and they're all leaving with the same exact response, it was like, you know, it was magical. And then it started feeling like, oh, I don't have any control of this. I just have to show up to the dock. Like, I don't have any control. Like, I show up.
People are there. This happens.
And then we leave. And then this other.
It's not as much about me as it is about you being a conduit for whatever is happening.
For whatever is happening.
Get it out of the way.
That's what I feel like a lot of times because when I get there and my guests show up, it's like nothing else matters. Literally nothing else matters. And even Art and my other dock hands will know. They're like, when guests show up, we're hosting. Like, don't call Tia. Don't ask her about anything. Doesn't have to do anything to do without her hosting these people right now and making sure that they're having the best time because that's what it's all about.
How many blue crabs in general should we plan for per person for crab crack?
If you're just going to have a crab crack on your own, that completely depends on the person. That's a good question, but I'm like, ooh. Because I'm like, if we're talking about my family or are we talking about like some visiting, like my guests, you know what I mean? Because my family, it ain't enough that we're going to catch in the 2 hours on the dock. I'm going to have to go supplement the rest from someplace else.
Right.
But my guests, I think they have more than enough. I mean, if, you know, for a family of 4, you have to think. These are people that have never crabbed before, never been around blue crabs before, just enough for them to go home and have this experience with. But between 12 to 16 crabs. And then here's the thing is I give them the full experience, you know. I also have to remind myself that these people have never crabbed before.
Right.
Don't know how to eat crabs before. So if I just send them away with live crabs, a lot of times those crabs are going to die for no reason. You know?
Right.
So now I really prepare it for them. So we catch the crabs and then I break it down and I clean them right there on the dock and I bag them up. So out of 1 crab, we're getting 2 blue crab clusters. So for a family that's also adding potatoes, sausage, corn, and everything that's almost a lot of too much food for them, you know?
Yeah.
Dozen crab would be 24 clusters and then plus all the other stuff they're putting in. That's more than enough for dinner.
And you're the cook in the family.
Yes, I definitely am.
So I'm going to ask, how often do you eat them?
Not as often as everybody thinks. My whole experience is taking people crabbing and whatever we catch, they get to take home with them. So very, very rarely. And I tell you, I like my crab fresh. So, you know, there's no point in me taking it and having to put it in the freezer. So about a week ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have some crabs tonight. And there were 6 big old crabs in there because the season just changed. I was like, that is perfect. I'll just take these 6, make some garlic crabs in my Dutch oven on the stove. Like, had all these plans, cleaned the crabs at the dock, packed up, got in the car, called Katie and was like, we're having crabs tonight. She was like, I really have just been craving pizza.
You're like, Katie?
So you know what I did? I gave the crab away to the guy that worked at the place next door to the pizza place, and I went and got pizza because...
You got to keep her happy.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I could always go for pizza, but garlic crabs sound good too.
I know. But can
we have both? Right. I can tell that you have educated yourself a lot about the methods, and there's something, how do I explain this? There's something poetic and a little mystical about you.
About me?
When you are on the water. Like I was watching it. Absolutely. I was like, you're calm. You said that throwing a cast net is really grounding.
It is.
And you've had to educate yourself. What has this job taught you?
To respect the water, to respect everything that lives in the water, to open my eyes and pay attention to the things around me, and to love and appreciate the things that I have around me. That absolutely. Because you didn't know me before this, but before, like, it's hard to say this, but I guess people that may work food and beverage and may know, I thought that I was a food and bev lifer. You know, that is all I'd done to support me and my family. I did a really good job of it, and that's what I was ready to do. Feeling that way mentally, and then getting to where I was beyond freeing. But I wasn't really in a good place mentally. I always tell my guests and stuff because I want them to understand, because they see me when they come out to the dock and see this happy person, and it's like, I wasn't I didn't want to die, but I was not thrilled to wake up every day. We'll just say that, you know, like I wasn't like, yay, it's another day. Let me start this day. It was like, here we go. I just need to make it through this day, kind of feeling. And I always tell them, I'm like, if we were in a public place before all of this happened, I might not even made eye contact with any of those people because that's where I was mentally, you know? So having crabbing now into my life, it is like, it's crazy. It's like, I feel like all the things I say are stereotypical, you know what I mean? Like, but it's like I'm living it. It's really do. It's like sometimes.
I really appreciate that, but there's nothing stereotypical about having a recreational crabbing business, okay? So speak away.
But just the way that I feel inside about doing this stuff, it's like, I feel like literally I get up every day and sometimes I'm like floating about myself. You know what I mean? It's just, but it's like, I'm powerless too. Like I'm not controlling this. I don't have any, it's just wake up and put on your shoes and do it, you know? But it is flat out the happiest that I've ever been.
And it does help that you're working outside during COVID. That helps.
Absolutely.
And that I'm sure has really helped sustain your business at a time when a lot of other businesses are suffering.
I've been very, 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 very lucky. I mean, I always say how grateful I am, but it's like the word grateful and all that is just an understatement to what it is. Like, I'm glad that the universe or whatever led me in this direction right before all this happened, you know? Like, I pretty much like quit my life and everything and just kind of like hopped into this thing. And who knew that this thing is what was going to feed us and put bread on the table, you know? Like, another proof that we ain't got no control over this, you know? I have no idea.
I know.
None.
I know. I have a chopstick microphone in my hand, and that is puts food on my table.
That's right. That's right.
Know?
And it's funny. It's like all the time and energy you could put into whatever. They always tell us, come up with plans so you can execute it. You can put all this energy into this plan. That might not be what your plan is, you know?
That's right.
You just don't know.
You got to go with it.
And I mean, I talked to my mom and other families, and I just would have never, ever planned this for my life. Like, ever. And now look at me.
I know. Well, what is next? What is making you hungry? I mean,
I want to crab the world. I want to share crabbing with literally almost every person that I meet. Even if they don't know anything about the water, even if they crabbed before. Because that's one of the things when I'm hosting and I get people that's like, oh yeah, I've crabbed my whole life. Or yeah, I grew up crabbing, or this is crabbing. And I'm always like, oh, this is going to be a tough one. They leave sometimes like overthrow because I'm teaching them all these things about crabs that I always tell them, I'm going to teach you every weird thing you never thought that you wanted to know about crabs when you come out on the dock with me. Right. And the whole time you're going to be going, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. And that's my goal, is I want everybody to say that. And even if you think you know everything about crabs, I might be able to teach you something new about it.
But that is curiosity, right? And curiosity, I feel, is life energy.
Absolutely.
I just really, I mean, like being curious about where you live and what's going on there, you know? Okay, so you have this job that you have definitely created for yourself. And there has to be an aspect of it that really meshes with an aspect of your personality, like a puzzle piece. What is one of those aspects?
I think my ability to connect with people and read people that I got from food and beverage. You know, like I could tell, and this is going to real food and beverage people, they're going to get this.
Well, I'm F&B too,
well,
so I get
being
it.
behind the bar for as long as I could, or as long as I was, I could tell within the first 5 minutes of somebody walking in that bar if I was going to have to kick them out, call the police, or what was going to happen instantly.
Really?
And they may not have even said that many words to me. Like, I'm easily able to read body language a lot too, you know? But I think that is it, because think about all those people I've hosted. I have 323 5-star reviews with not one bad yet. Do you know how many different personalities was in part of that 323? Right. I mean, like, so many different personalities, and it don't matter. They all gonna leave that dog screaming and hooting and hollering like it's the best day they ever had crabbing. It doesn't matter, you know. But that easily is one that meshes with just my ability to pretty much make friends with anybody. Yeah,
we met at Whole Foods.
I know. You know what's funny is we were talking about this earlier about like people noticing you, because like that woman doing that earlier.
Right.
I think you were actually one of the first people to notice me in public, because I was walking in Whole Foods and we passed each other and you just stopped and you went, casual crabbing with Tia. You turned around and it was like...
You're like, what?
I know. I was like looking over my shoulder like, yes, ma'am.
So the reason is because you were on my radar already. And I was like, I need to talk to her. I want to know, because I'm curious about people. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what's going on? There's something interesting. And I love being on the water. And I write a lot about seafood. I've been out with oyster divers. I've written about fishermen. I've done a lot of things. And I was like, I don't know, blue crabs. I need to go out. And then I saw you and I was like, I'm going to be weird. That's okay. I'm always weird. So I just asked but I got your card and kept it. And of course we've interacted a couple times since then, but that card is still how I contacted you.
Awesome.
So it matters.
Thank you, Vistaprint.
Yeah. Thanks, Vistaprint. Hey, Vistaprint. You could sponsor me if you wanted.
That's right.
I'm just saying. Okay, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, the worrisome, which is probably normal, the natural worry of providing for me and my family. Mm-hmm. You know, making this life in this world for me and my family. Mm-hmm. Before Katie came along, I used to have a black dog named Chop. And before Katie entered my life, which January, I think it's 15 years.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. I've been married for 10, but been together 15 years. But before her, it was me and this dog, Chop. And I had convinced myself that it was me and Chop against the world, and it was just going to be us. And I had to like work as hard as I could to provide this world for us, you know. And then Katie came in and it was like providing this world. And that's what I worry about. You know, I worried about that in food and beverage, you know, like having to work so hard and to make, like, not to say anything about it, but I was making more money than my wife was working for the state, you know, being in food and beverage for that long. And it provided a certain life for me. So I think right now that still does, even though I don't have any reason to worry, but it's like being a black woman, gay woman, I feel like everything that's happened in my life recently for the past 3 years feels unnatural, and it feels like it's the way that life does not happen. So,
for a black gay woman.
Yes. I'm waiting on the anvil, and I'm waiting for somebody to go, wait, she's doing what? No, you can't do that. Like, I'm just waiting, you know, and it's like, I'm in this thing where I'm supposed to be enjoying it and having the best time of my life. And I am to a certain aspect, but it's part of me just from who I am and how I was raised and how I'm built is just looking over my shoulder, like, what's about to happen? Like, this is not the way life works, you know?
Yeah. Too good to be true.
That's what it feels like the whole time. It feels like that the entire time, you know?
I hope that you get some respite from that.
I hope so. I'm working real hard and trying to, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm close. I feel like I'm close.
Closer.
Yes. Closer.
Well, to celebrate closer, I have a magic picnic basket.
Okay.
I just bring it out for the Southern Fork. I don't monetize it or do anything with it except time travel for my guests. Right. So I can go back in time to conscript anybody to make anything that you would like. I can source for you. Oh. I can ask a chef that you're very interested in, or a family member that you love and remember, to make some things for that picnic basket. And I can put together a meal that doesn't have to be a traditional meal, but just something that you would really like. What am I going to bring you?
You can bring me my grandmother's okra soup and my mother's lima beans and rice. And then that can maybe be accompanied by some of their fried chicken, or maybe some fried fish along with it. Yeah, you absolutely, if I want food, I'm going to my mom or my grandmother. Like, that's 100, or my aunts. Like, you know, I can go to my Aunt Tasha. She can make me, she's the seafood queen, you know. I mean, literally, we could walk through my family, and that's where my meals are coming. That's where that dream meal is coming from.
Love it.
I moved to New Orleans for a few years when I was cooking. And when I came back, that's all I wanted. You know, when you go away, when you grow up here in Charleston, eating that Charleston Southern black woman cooking family food, you go to New Orleans, crawfish is good and all. That etouffee and po' boys, that's all good. But ain't no okra soup and rice with some cornbread. You know, that's just a whole nother.
It is. Whatever you need. Whatever you need.
Absolutely.
Well, if people want to learn more about Tia Clark you can go to thesouthernfork.com. You know me. You know I'm going to have links there that connect you to the face behind the voice. And if you like what you hear, I hope this makes you hungry to learn more about your food and to maybe go out and source some of it in some way. Pick your own apples and maybe catch your own fish.
Or crabs.
That's right. Thanks for letting me chat with you today, Tia.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouthful. Since we're on the subject today of blue crabs, I'd like to be very opinionated about crab cakes for a minute. To me, crab cakes are best when they are pretty much crab meat, some seasoning, and very little filling. So not a lot of bread. I remember years ago when the crab cakes would be on a bun, like a crab cake sandwich, and it would feel like bread surrounded by bread. And so if you're going to make crab cakes at home, they're surprisingly easy. And one of my past guests, Michelle Weaver of Charleston Grill, is known for her crab cake recipe. So you can Google that and find that easily. It doesn't have much in it but fresh crab meat. But one of my favorite things as a kid was the deviled crab. And I'm so excited to see that trend coming back. It's very much an 80s food and probably way before that, but it seemed to go out of fashion. And that's where that super breading that doesn't work for me in a crab cake so works for me when that crab cake is kind of stuffed in a shell. So anyway, deviled crab is still today one of my favorite things. And I remember going to a fish camp outside of Charlotte a lot when I was young, and I would feel very cosmopolitan being able to take a couple bites of my dad's deviled crab that he ordered, and then very adult when I finally started ordering my own. So if you're going to make crab cakes and you're going to invite me over, yeah, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?